Haunted House, released in 1982 for the Atari 2600 game console, and designed by James Andreessen. Copyright 1981. Yeah, it says 1981 on the cartridge. Could have been programmed in 1981. Then it was distributed in 1982. Well, whatever. Yeah, I'm going back into 1982, the Use Your Imagination era. As you can see, your character is just a pair of eyes. And the button is to light the match to see around you. Now your character looks like an orange with a pair of eyes. No, that's not the point of your character. It's just the limitations of the Atari 2600 console. And like I said before, the Atari 2600 was a part of the Use Your Imagination era, which is the limit of pixels and dots and lines. Haunted House is considered to be the first survival horror game ever made. Well, this is not nearly a bloody hardcore game like many other horror survival games that are well known for today's standards, such as Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and many others. Haunted House for the Atari 2600 is a game that's pretty much targeted for all ages, mainly kids for the most part, and it's meant to be the fun and games type. I can tell you one thing that creeps me out the most is the game cover. Look at the art! A pair of open eyes in the background, with ghosts, bats, and tarantulas. It even says it on the cover. It probably might spook anyone that sees this cover. And I love being spooked at this sort of thing, especially when it comes to retro art. Lots of these Atari 2600 game covers had awesome artwork, such as these ones. Now, like I said, Haunted House is infested with bats, tarantulas, and ghosts. That's pretty much all you're going to see in this game. I believe that there's only one ghost, and that ghost is the ghost of Zachary Graves. Which leads me to the next part of this review, is the story of the game and what your objectives are. According to the Haunted House instruction manual and the AtariAge.com website, the story is about a mean old man named Zachary Graves who lives in the old mansion in a small town of Spirit Bay. He spent most of his life brooding about the decaying four-story house, and when he died, the house was condemned and locked up. The townspeople claim that Graves knew about the magic urn. That was a family heirloom of the first family of Spirit Bay. It turns out that the magic urn is still somewhere in the mansion, but it's been broken into several pieces during the earthquake of the year 1890. Now, many years later to this day, no one would dare enter the mansion to search for every piece of the magic urn. It's common knowledge that the ghost of the old man Graves still haunts the mansion. Some of the neighbors claim to have seen lights flickering in the windows. Some say that they heard eerie sounds, door slamming, and heavy footsteps. And some have claimed to have seen the shadows running through the mansion. The mysterious mansion has 24 rooms connected by long corridors and staircases. Some rooms have been locked up for over 50 years. There is supposed to be a master key hidden somewhere in the mansion, which is needed to travel from room to room. And finally, there's an ancient scepter hidden in the mansion, which old man Graves always carried the scepter. He believed it scared off evil spirits. That was the story of the Haunted House game. No matter if it's the truth, or if it's just been spreaded by rumors, who would dare to enter the house? Who has the strong nerve? Who doesn't know the meaning of the word fear? If it's the proper answer to those questions, and if you're not afraid, then I would say take your chances. Now the main objective is to find the 3 pieces of the magic urn to put together and bring to the main entrance of the mansion. There will be a few things required for this adventure, such as matches, because the mansion will always be dark, and of course there is no limit of the use of matches. You also need to find the master key to unlock doors, and the scepter to make yourself invisible to all creatures that come your way. Above all, the main purpose is to get all the broken pieces of the urn and put them together, then go to the main entrance of the mansion and get out. This game has 9 different game modes to choose from, which is actually pretty much the same goal, is to get the urn and leave. The only difference of each mode, it increases the difficulty for each one. Which really makes sense, because when you start at game mode 1 and then you get the hang of it, it can be very easy and very simple and very quick. So all 9 modes are pretty much the same goal, except the following modes from the first one throws more challenges towards you. Okay, now let's talk about the gameplay. Now this is what you call a menu, and now below the game is the display. The number on the top above the 2 zeros is the number of which game mode you're on. It's displaying as the first one right now. You can always select a level using the dip switches on the Atari 2600, or if you're playing it off the emulator you can use one of the F keys. And the 2 numbers below that is the indicator of how many matches you use. And the number on the far right is the number of lives you have. You always will have 9 lives in the game. Yeah, 9 game modes, 9 lives. 9 lives like a cat. So I'm assuming that their lucky number is 9. And when you're playing the game, the number above the 2 zeros is also telling you which floor you're on. And you always will start at the first floor. The first floor will always be blue. And another thing, the main objective is not to get scared to death. If one of these enemies touches you, you get scared to death and die. And right now I'm on game mode 1. And I'm on the 2nd floor, which the 2nd floor is always orange. And now I'm on 3, which is green. Right now I already got a few pieces of the urn. Yeah, 2 pieces as I can see. And floor 4 is orange. I think the 2nd floor is meant to be red. I think it's just the way my color settings is set up on my monitor. Yeah, it looks like I got all pieces of the urn. So all I have to do is get to the main entrance of the mansion and get out. Oops. You see, that's what I'm talking about there. Make sure no spirit touches you. See, I made it. Man, I love the sound effects in this game. Especially the Twilight Zone theme, like. Especially after you beat the game. Yes, I beat the game in approximately about 5 minutes. Well, that's only the game mode 1, the easiest difficulty. Now let's try game mode 2. Yeah, the rest of the game modes is just all dark. You get to see the building in game mode 1, but the rest of the modes, it's all dark. So you're definitely going to need more matches than ever. Yeah, this display comes in different colors to indicate that which floor you're on. And challenges do increase, especially when there's more locked rooms and you need the key for. Yeah, the first one you didn't need the key. Of course, there's always the scepter, which can also scare off evil spirits, which does come in handy, because with the scepter you're invincible. Now, I haven't explained about the drawback to this yet. The drawback is you can't carry all items at once. What the heck? I mean, there's only 3 items in this game you can pick up. The matches you always will have. Only 3 items is the key, the scepter, and the urn. Well, most of the times the urn is scattered in pieces, so I guess it's considered as 5. The only way how you can hold more than 1 item is you pick up pieces of urn, which automatically gets put together. But other than that, still 3 pieces. It's just really unfair that you can't carry all 3 items at once, because I'm pretty sure we can always make room on ourselves depending on what type of clothing we're wearing, if we have a bag or if we have or a holster we can hold the scepter in, just in case whenever we need it. And of course there's always such thing as pockets, where you can always hold the keys in. And if the scepter is small enough, or if you have a bigger pocket, you can hold the scepter in that too. Which also got me to ask myself a question. Did the game creator ever had pockets in mind? Well, I'm not sure if that's the case or not, so I can't answer my own question. I know an average human being can hold more than 3 items, especially all the items described in this game. I mean, I understand if it was 50 items, that would be overwhelming. But it's nowhere near that, it's 3 items. But then again, I guess it comes with the territory when it comes to Atari 2600 challenge and limitations. Well, that's pretty much all I gotta say about Haunted House on the 2600 console. It's pretty dated to a lot of gamers, especially younger gamers, but to a retro gamer and a horror fan like me, it still holds up to this day. And I still play this one time to time. And we gotta give this game in Atari 2600 a lot of credit. And besides, this is where most of the gaming starts. It started as the use your imagination type. And it's the first horror survival game. As far as I'm concerned, it paved the way for many other feature horror games such as Castlevania, Ghosts and Goblins, Seven Guests, Alone in the Dark, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Clock Tower, Night Trap, Doom, and the list goes on. And that's pretty much why I wanted to start off the Ultimania Gamer sideshow, The House of Horror, by starting off a classic that kickstarted the genre. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not sure what the next game on the UMG House of Horror show will be, but it will not be another Atari 2600 game. I'm sure another 2600 game will come to mind sometime in the future, but it won't be on the next episode. Now, before I wrap everything up, there is also a remake of Haunted House released in 2010 for the Xbox Live Arcade, PC download, and the Nintendo Wii, which is most likely to be a sequel instead of a remake. The game is set 30 years later, just like the original game release. But the technology was in 30 years gotten way more advanced, so it sounds reasonable to be considered as a remake. I do own the Xbox Live Arcade one, which I got on sale for $5 one time, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Like the original one, it's another game for all ages. They added more interesting things in this one, such as cute humor, 2 players, more ways to use light, more creatures than before, eliminating creatures, more puzzles, and more stages. Now, there were mixed reviews about this one, and normally I'm not really into the cartoonish type of games, but I think this one's pretty good. Okay, I will get into more details about the Rebirth one some other time, but if you ever come by the Rebirth one of this one, I would say check it out. And I also recommend the Atari 2600 game, especially if you have an Atari 2600 game console. The cartridge is really easy to come by, plus there's many other ways to get this one, such as compilations for various consoles and home computers, or Atari Flashback plug and play, and even digital downloads. I hope you all enjoyed my first ever House of Horror episode. Please do like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, just in case if I'm not back before Halloween, which this House of Horror show will be another time instead of a yearly. Well, just in case, I want to wish you all a happy Halloween. Thank you very much, everyone.
Ultramaniac Gamer out.